Here in the U.S., as COVID-19 has forced the closure of schools around the country, a new survey finds economic disparities in the amount of online instruction received. The Pew Research Center survey finds 51% of upper-income parents report their children have received a lot of online instruction, compared to 44% of middle-income parents and 38% of lower-income parents. All income brackets report receiving some instruction. Tim Carney, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner and resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, joins me now by Skype to talk more about this. Tim, welcome to the show. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
I know that you recently took a look at this for the Washington Examiner. How are the current school closures disproportionately affecting lower income students?
Well, I think those numbers you cited really do drive it home, and there's additional numbers suggesting that parents do feel that their children are being left behind. That's increasingly felt, again, the further down you go on the income scale. And so the causes of that, what I speculate, what seems common sense to me, is a few. One is just a lot of people in a lot of schools are relying on the internet, the computer, the apps that you and I are using to communicate now. And if you have two kids and you don't have an up-to-date iPad, or you don't have multiple desktops, or you don't have an iPhone to spare, it might be much harder to get them in touch. Even the schools that are communicating by email, access to a printer, not something everybody has these days, especially if you're not going into a workplace and you can't go down to a Kinko's. So just the technological barrier is one. But I think more important is just the presence of two parents who themselves have a full high school education and are around and present. That's a lot more common, people with white collar jobs, than either people who still have essential jobs, more likely to be blue collar worker today. And also, a sad fact is, single mothers are far more likely to be in the working class. Poor mothers are much more likely to not have a father around the house. That makes running the education of your kids very difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation all around. 41% of lower income parents surveyed in the study say they're very concerned about their children falling behind in school, and that's really significant. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, because this isn't something that it's just a one-time thing. If you're supposed to be acquiring certain basic math skills in the spring of your 8th grade in preparation for 9th grade, then 9th grade comes along, you might not be caught up. And so imagine two different middle schools feeding into the same high school, and one middle school isn't as good at delivering the curriculum to the parents. Or one middle school, again, more working class, has more single mothers who aren't as able to sort of do the supervision. Because what we're doing here, my wife and I, we have 6 kids. We're not exactly homeschooling, but we're not just sort of hitting print and handing stuff to our kids. There's sort of this in-between where we are like teachers' assistants. That's a difficult role. More education helps, but also having two parents helps. And so again, the parents who are relying on school for more of their kids' education, they're afraid that their children are not going to be where they need to be come next school year.
Well, Tim, we don't have much time, but I do want to get to this question with you. You know, so much is still in flux about when and how states are going to return to normal activity. How do we make sure this gap doesn't widen for our children?
Well, one thing is, I think teachers, principals, school districts need to think about the fact that the live connection, having a Zoom class where kids are sort of required to attend, is really a burden on families who might not have one high-speed device per child, and that they have to sort of adapt, think about how different parents have different needs. So this is not an easy job. I'm saying the teachers and the principals are going to have to work harder to adapt to this new environment, to figure out what parents need, give them that, and it'll be a constant learning process. All the old rules, all the old processes are out the window.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate your insight. Tim Carney, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner and resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, that is. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.